Why, hello there. Nice to see you again. I mean, nice to have me talk to you again. Today we're talking about percents, so we're going to solve percent problems using proportions. Remember, proportions just fraction equal fraction. So let's get started. So one key thing is when we're talking about percents, when we see the word is, that means equals. When we see the word of, that means multiply. You want to make sure to write that down. So we can always write a percent as a fraction. The fraction would be the percent over 100 because the percent is going to be the portion that we have and the total always goes on bottom. So when I have a problem like what percent of 50 is 25, we could have 25 divided by 50 is going to be equal to P over 100. That's one way to write this problem. Another way to write this problem is to first write it out as a fraction. So I have what percent, so I'm going to have x over 100. That's your percent. Of, remember, of means multiply. So I'm going to write multiply, and then 56 is 42. Now there's two ways that you could solve this. You could first do the opposite of this multiplying, which is dividing, and divide on both sides of the equation. So then I would have x over 100 is equal to 0.75. And now I can do, okay, this shows me division, so the opposite of dividing would be multiply by 100. I'm going to multiply by 100. So my percentage would be equal to 75%, and that would be my answer. The other way you could do this is, I'm still going to write this as a problem. So what percent, so I'm looking at what percent, I'm going to write that over 100, because that's how you write a percent as a fraction, of 90 is equal to 54. Now I'm going to rewrite this problem so it says 90 over 100 times x is equal to 54. And now the only thing we have here is this multiply. And the opposite of multiplying would be dividing. So I'm going to divide by 90 over 100. I'm going to divide the other side by 90 over 100. And remember, when I divide by a fraction, that's the same thing as multiplying by its reciprocal. So I had 54 over 1 times 100 over 90, which would give me 60% is equal to x. So that's the percentage that I was looking for. Either way you do it, I do not care as long as you do the correct steps and get the correct answer. However, I will be solving the problem the first way. Right now I want you to pause the video, yes, pause the video, and figure out what percent for each one of these problems, and then check your answers with mine. The first answer you should have gotten that x was equal to 6.25%, and the second answer was 75%. Now the key is when you write your answer, it's asking your answer to be a percent, so you have to make sure that you include the percent sign at the end. So now I have a word problem. So a dress shirt that normally costs $38.50 is on sale for 30% off. What is the sale price of the shirt? Now again, there's two ways that you can solve this problem. I'm going to do both ways. The first way is to do 38.50 times 30%. So if you're going to change that into a decimal, that would be times 0.3, which would be 11.55. So that's the amount of money that's off. So in order to figure out what the new sale price is, how much you would actually pay for this shirt, I have to do 38.50 subtract 11.55. So you would pay $26.95. The other way that you could solve this problem is first figuring out how much of the percent of the shirt will you actually pay for. If you have 30% off, you are actually paying for 70% of the shirt. How did I get that number? Well, I did 100 is your total, and I subtracted 30, and that's why I got 70%. Now I'm going to take that and do 38.5 times 0.7. Again, changing it into a decimal. Once I do that, I would get 26.95. I still get the same answer, it's just a different way of doing it. So the first way, I found the percent off and subtracted from my total. The second way, I found the percent that I pay for and did that times my total. So here's another word problem. The family sells a car to a dealership for 60% less than what they paid for it, and they paid $90,000. So again, you can do this one of two ways. You can either do 90,000 times 60% and subtract, or figure out what they paid for it or what they sold it for. So I want you to pause the video right now and check your answer with my work. I solved the problem by doing the total times the percent that I sold it back to the dealership for. So that's the 0.4, because I did 100, subtract 60 and got 40%. And that as a decimal would be 0.4. So they sold it back to the dealership for $3,600. So you should fill out the Google form and submit your work. Have a wonderful evening.